Welcome to the world of the unexplained and the supernatural here at Paranormal M. Subscribe and turn on notifications to be the first to know about our latest mysterious stories. We hope you're ready to be taken on a journey into the unknown. Story number 1. Too scared to leave my room. I'm a 22-year-old student, and my life revolves around my studies and living in a smallish apartment with a roommate and her adorable cat. Little did I know that my perception of reality was about to be challenged in a way I had never experienced before, starting just about an hour and a half ago. It all began when I was diligently working on an assignment in the comfort of my room. Suddenly I heard a series of thumps emanating from the living room. Naturally assuming it was the mischievous feline knocking something over, I prepared myself to rectify the situation. However, as I made my way toward the living room, an indescribable sensation of unease washed over me, sending chills down my spine. It was an eerie feeling unlike anything I'd ever felt before, as though something ominous was lurking nearby, ready to disrupt the tranquility of my humble abode. A peculiar mixture of curiosity and trepidation consumed me as I was cautiously retrieving a makeshift weapon, just in case the situation turned out to be more than just an innocent mishap. With bated breath, I stepped into the living room, my eyes darting around, searching for any sign of disturbance. That's when I caught sight of something peculiar, a black triangular object, reminiscent of a hood, swiftly descending behind the table. However, to my utter surprise, it never made contact with the floor. Bewildered, I glanced at the slumbering cat, who seemed completely undisturbed by this enigmatic event unfolding before me. Barely containing my racing thoughts, I couldn't help but consider the alarming possibility that my sanctuary had been invaded by an intruder. Determined to uncover the truth, I mustered the courage to approach the opposite side of the table. As I drew closer, my heart pounding in my chest, I realized with a mixture of relief and confusion that there was absolutely nothing there. No fallen objects, no signs of disturbance whatsoever. It was as if the incident had evaporated into thin air. Perplexed, I embarked on an exhaustive search of every nook and cranny, combing through the apartment meticulously in pursuit of an intruder that simply didn't exist. Returning to the solace of my room, a lingering sense of unease continued to gnaw at my consciousness. Seeking solace in rituals passed down through generations, I reached for a bundle of sage, intending to cleanse the space of any lingering negative energy. However, just as I was about to ignite the fragrant herb, my ears detected the distinct sound of bare footsteps resonating from the bathroom, gradually making their way into the kitchen. It was a sound that sent shivers down my spine, raising the hairs on the back of my neck, amplifying the inexplicable unease that had settled within me. Reflecting on the events that had unfolded, I couldn't help but acknowledge that our apartment had been a hotbed of inexplicable occurrences over the last 2 years that I resided here. Knocking on doors that seemingly came from nowhere, light bulbs flickering without any rational explanation. These phenomena had become an integral part of our daily lives. Admittedly, the apartment's proximity to an ancient graveyard had always served as a source of curiosity and speculation among our circle of friends. Yet, despite the occasional oddities, we had all managed to rationalize these incidents, attributing them to coincidences or quirks of an old building. Being someone who prided myself on skepticism and logical reasoning, I found myself grappling with the undeniable reality of what had just transpired. That mysterious object, dropping behind the table and disappearing without a trace, had appeared almost sentient, as if it possessed an awareness of my presence and sought to conceal itself. The overwhelming sense of anxiety that had accompanied the encounter was inexplicable, surpassing the boundaries of reason. It mirrored the visceral fear one experiences when walking alone on a dimly lit street, sensing an unseen presence trailing behind, or the impending dread that envelops you moments before a catastrophic car accident. As I sat in the stillness of my room trying to make sense of it all, I couldn't deny the presence of an otherworldly force that had infiltrated the realms of my reality. Questions swirled in my mind, each one more elusive than the last. What had I witnessed? Was it a ghost, a specter from beyond the veil of mortality? Or was it some form of supernatural entity whose true nature defied the boundaries of human comprehension? Regardless of my skepticism, I was left with an undeniable truth. I had encountered something inexplicable, something that challenged the very foundations of my understanding of the world. And so, with a newfound curiosity and a lingering sense of trepidation, I embarked on a journey to unravel the mysteries that shrouded my apartment, delving into the enigmatic realms of the paranormal in search of answers that may forever alter the trajectory of my life and the understanding of existence itself. Story number 2. Is my house haunted, or am I just paranoid? I must admit, I've been feeling quite unsettled lately. You see, I might be the type of person who tends to be a bit paranoid and overthink things. It's just who I am, and I can't seem to help it. But lately I can't shake the feeling that there's something wrong with my house. I know it sounds crazy considering it was constructed only a few years ago. In fact, our previous house was in the exact same spot, but we decided to tear it down and rebuild it. After the construction was completed, our grandparents' and uncle's family moved into the home, while my family and I lived elsewhere. It was only recently that we added another floor, and we moved into the first floor about 2 months ago. Ever since then, I had this nagging suspicion that something isn't right. Let me recount some of the instances that have contributed to this feeling. Mind you, these aren't terrifying horror stories. They're simply a compilation of experiences that have occurred in my house, which may not sound scary at all. Even before the first floor was constructed, the house only had one ground floor. My father had an eerie encounter, though. He was alone in the house when he heard a sound resembling an ankle bracelet. It was as if someone was wearing one and walking around the rooms, particularly the room designated for prayer. Now, my father is a sensible and unwavering man, not easily spooked. After checking the room, he found no one there. Now, let me share an incident that happened to me. This occurred while the construction on the first floor was still underway, and we hadn't moved in yet. It was around 7 p.m. when my grandma thought she heard doors shutting on the first floor. She asked me to go and check, despite my fearful nature, and reluctantly I agreed and I made my way upstairs. The moment I stepped into the floor, I heard a voice, a loud, quick breath, as if someone was right behind me. I assure you there was no one there. In a panic, I rushed back downstairs, ensuring that all the doors were securely shut in case it was a burglar. Just yesterday, something unsettling occurred to my aunt. She was studying in the guest room, lying on the bed, when she suddenly felt as if someone tightly was holding onto her legs. Startled, she assumed it was our grandpa playing a prank, but when she turned, there was no one. Our grandma was fast asleep in a different room at the time. This incident took place on the ground floor, and additionally, my uncle occasionally feels as if someone is touching his feet or standing in front of him, observing him while he sleeps in the same room. Let me mention a few smaller occurrences as well. My father and I have heard things falling on the first floor, though we couldn't identify what fell or where it fell. We don't have any mice or insects, so that's not a plausible explanation. And this happened approximately 2 weeks ago. Last week, a peculiar incident involved a plate placed on a closed gas stove. I had set it there about 20 minutes prior, but when my mom checked on it, the plate was broken on all sides except for the center. Perhaps it was the temperature that caused it to crack, but it seemed unusual. A couple of days ago, I thought I heard someone knocking on my room's door twice around midnight. However, I attributed that to my paranoia, coupled with the fact that I was playing Joji's music on a speaker. But today, something truly unnerving happened. I was using my laptop in one of the empty rooms. Our house is quite spacious, recording something with my camera on, and out of nowhere, the door right in front of me slammed shut with a loud bang. Simultaneously, on the opposite side of the floor was slowly closing. Facing the opposite direction, my mom tried to brush it off as the wind's doing. But how could the door shut in different directions if it was the wind? When I reviewed the recording on my laptop, I could see the genuine terror in my eyes. That moment made me question whether there might be something in this house. Of course, everything could merely be a series of coincidences with reasonable explanations, but the frequency of these occurrences feels too significant to dismiss. I'm terrified at night now. I've been experiencing frequent episodes of sleep paralysis and struggling with insomnia. The experiences are genuinely horrifying, and it doesn't take much to scare me. Adding to my concern is the fact that our neighboring house has a reputation for paranormal activity. In fact, our uncle and grandparents rented that particular house when our own was being rebuilt. Perhaps there's some connection between the two locations. It's been 2 months since my parents moved into this house, and I returned home after completing my exams about 4 weeks ago. However, for some reason I'm always on edge. It's as if I'm hypersensitive to everything around me, even when there's no apparent reason to be. Whenever I pass a room, I feel compelled to double-check and confirm that nothing's inside. Before settling into a room, I meticulously inspect every corner, and I swear this isn't how I used to be. I used to be carefree, especially in our previous home. It was located in an old area of town, surrounded by lush greenery, low-density housing, trees, and ponds. Despite its rustic nature, I never felt uncomfortable there. On the contrary, our new home is in a bustling urban area filled with people, yet there's not a single moment of peace. Although my family is deeply religious, attributing everything to the work of God, I can't help but have genuine concerns. So you see, I'm caught in this web of unease, constantly questioning whether my house is haunted. The experiences I've recounted may seem insignificant on their own, but when viewed collectively, they paint a disconcerting picture. I'm desperately seeking answers, searching for logical explanations and hoping to find a way to put my mind at ease. Until then, I'll continue to navigate the halls of my house with trepidation, fearing what I might encounter around each corner. The Day I Seen the Devil. Story number 3. It all began when my precious little son, who was just a tender 5-year-old at the time, and I found ourselves in the cozy confines of our living room on a particularly starlit night. As he happily immersed himself in playful endeavors, his innocent laughter echoed throughout the hallway. However, the tranquility was abruptly shattered when he suddenly came rushing towards me, his tiny body trembling with fear. With his tiny fingers trembling extended, he pointed toward the room and hallway, and his voice quivering as he described an encounter with a truly grotesque apparition that had sent shivers down his spine. My heart skipped a beat as I witnessed the genuine terror etched into his cherubic face. I quickly made my way toward the room, a mix of concern and trepidation coursing through my veins. Upon entering, I meticulously scanned the surroundings, hoping to find nothing more than a figment of his imagination. To my relief, there was no sign of any sinister presence lingering in the room. My son assured me that the mysterious figure had departed through the window, vanishing into the night. Assuaged by his innocent explanation, I dismissed the incident as mere childhood fright, choosing not to dwell on it any longer. Yet as the night progressed, the darkness enveloped our abode. I found myself unable to quell the persistent nagging in the depths of my mind. What had my son truly witnessed? The enigmatic encounter continued to haunt my thoughts, refusing to dissipate into the recesses of forgetfulness. Driven by an insatiable curiosity mixed with a tinge of apprehension, I resolved to uncover the truth. That very night, with an uncharacteristic air of restlessness clinging to me, I cautiously settled into bed, positioning myself on the side opposite the window. A feeble attempt to reassure myself, perhaps, by placing a physical barrier between the eerie unknown and my vulnerable state of slumber. However, as sleep tentatively embraced me, I was unaware that this would be the night that forever altered my course of perception. In the midst of my dream-laden journey, abruptly my eyes flew open, startled awake by the inexplicable force that surged through my being. Panic coursed through my veins as I instinctively turned my gaze toward the source of my alarm, and there it stood, like a nightmarish tableau etched into the fabric of reality itself. Before me loomed a pair of legs, grotesquely distorted, bearing an amalgamation of features reminiscent of a mythical creature. These legs, or rather hooves, appeared to be a perplexing blend of equine majesty and caprine peculiarity. I beheld a sight both mesmerizing and macabre, as the appendages seemed to defy the laws of nature with their twisted existence. As my bewildered eyes moved upward, I became aware of a long, sinuous tail reminiscent of the panther's grace and agility. It curled and twisted, a surreal extension of this otherworldly entity. The tail, much like the fiery hues of a blazing sunset, sported a rich, deep red hue akin to the vibrant colors of freshly laid brickwork on a grand architectural masterpiece. Captivated yet horrified, I couldn't bring myself to avert my gaze from this haunting spectacle. My mind raced, struggling to comprehend the existence of such an aberration. My survival instinct kicked in, compelling me to shield my eyes from this unearthly sight. Trembling, I summoned the courage to silently beseech this inexplicable apparition, pleading with it within the depths of my thoughts, urging it to leave our dwelling and cease its intrusion upon our lives. I made it abundantly clear that its presence was unwelcome and unwarranted within the sacred confines of our humble home. And then just like that, the haunting specter vanished into the ethereal realm from whence it came. The room, once ensnared by an otherworldly presence, slowly returned to its familiar tranquility. I dared not believe my own eyes, questioning the authenticity of the spine-chilling encounter I had just experienced. Yet deep down, I knew that what I had witnessed was not a mere figment of my imagination. Since that bewildering night, the grotesque apparition, with its amalgamation of equine and caprine features, has remained elusive, keeping its distance from our lives. Its enigmatic presence, once a source of terror and curiosity, has become nothing more than a haunting memory etched into the annals of my family's history. And so, dear reader, or dear listener in this case, this is the tale of my son's encounter with the macabre and the subsequent revelation that forever altered my perception of the world. It serves as a reminder that in the darkest corners of our existence, there are mysteries that defy explanation, lurking just beyond the realm of our understanding. It's a testament to the resilience of the human spirit as we confront the inexplicable and find solace in our ability to overcome the supernatural terrors that sometimes permeate our lives. Story number 4, Lady in the Window. Years ago, it feels like a lifetime now, I found myself embarking on a Christmas visit to my ex-wife's childhood home in the charming state of Illinois. It was a trip filled with mixed emotions, as these family gatherings tend to be. We arrived fashionably late, as always, and we were graciously offered the comfort of her parents' guest room for the duration of our stay. It was a chilly winter night, and exhaustion weighed heavily upon my weary bones as I settled into the plush bedding. The clock read 2 a.m., the hour when the world seems to hold its breath, when the veil between reality and dreams is at its thinnest. As I began drifting into a peaceful slumber, a peculiar sound danced through the air and tickled my ears. It was the sound of children laughing, their their youthful joy echoing through the night. Intrigued by the commotion, I slowly opened my eyes, adjusting to the dimly lit room. The laughter continued, emanating from just beyond the bedroom window. Curiosity overcame me, and I glanced in that direction, seeking to identify the source of the mirth. What I saw, however, chilled me to the core. There, standing in the darkness, illuminated only by a soft glow of the moon, was a figure. It was unmistakably my mother-in-law, peering out at the children with a serene smile on her face. My heart skipped a beat, my mind racing to comprehend the situation. Had I awoken to find her amidst a sleepwalking episode? It seemed plausible enough, given the late hour and peculiar circumstances. Feeling a mixture of concern and confusion, I decided to address the issue the following morning during breakfast. The sunlight streamed through the windows, casting a warm glow upon the dining table as we sat to break bread together. With a glimmer of anxiety in my voice, I broached the subject, asking my mother-in-law about her midnight escapade into our room. To my surprise, she looked at me with genuine bewilderment and responded, "I didn't come into your room last night. I would never invade your privacy while guests are home." A perplexed expression crossed my face as I turned to my ex-wife, seeking confirmation of my own locked door claim. Her response mirrored her mother's, leaving me utterly dumbfounded. Puzzled and desperate for an explanation, I inquired as to the identity of the woman that I had witnessed standing at the window. It was then that my mother-in-law exchanged a glance with her husband, a look filled with understanding and recognition. With a solemn tone, she uttered the words that would forever change my perception of the supernatural. "He saw her," she confessed, her voice filled with an eerie mixture of acceptance and mystery. My eyes widened in anticipation as I implored her to elaborate. "Her? Who is she?" I asked, my curiosity tinged with equal parts of skepticism and fascination. In a hushed tone, my mother-in-law revealed the family secret that had eluded me until that moment. "We have a ghost," she admitted, her words hanging heavy in the air. "Countless ghosts have been reported seeing her, or countless guests have reported seeing her, standing at that very window, her gaze fixated on the outside world. We don't know who she is or why she haunts us, but we believe she means no harm." The reality of her words sank deep into my consciousness, shattering the skepticism I had clung onto for so long. Until that visit, the existence of ghosts had been nothing more than a figment of imagination, relegated to the realms of folklore and superstition. Yet, what I had witnessed with my own eyes defied any rational explanation. The weight of this newfound knowledge pressed heavily upon my soul, leaving me with a haunting sense of unease. Despite the reassurance of my in-laws, my ex-wife and I chose to seek refuge in the safety of a hotel for the remainder of our visit. The once familiar house now carried an otherworldly air, every creak of the floorboards echoing the ghostly presence that had revealed itself to me in the dead of the night. In the wake of that fateful encounter, my perception of the supernatural forever shifted. I had become a believer, unable to dismiss the existence of spirits that walk among us, bound to the mortal realm by unfinished business or unbreakable ties to the places that they once called home. To this day, the image of that apparition remains etched into the recesses of my mind. The memory of my mother-in-law's serene countenance, gazing out at the world beyond, continues to haunt my dreams. It serves as a constant reminder of the enigmatic forces that exist beyond our comprehension, forever shaping our perceptions of reality and challenging the boundaries of human understanding. As I reflect upon that unforgettable Christmas visit, I find solace in the knowledge that some mysteries are not meant to be solved. They serve as reminders of the vast tapestry of life, woven with threads of the inexplicable and the unexplained. And so, I carry this tale with me, a testament to the supernatural realm that lingers just beyond the edges of our everyday existence, waiting to reveal itself to the most unexpected of people in the most unexpected of ways. Moving back to Asia to be with my sick grandmother was a decision that I made without hesitation. All of my relatives and I felt like I was the only grandchild who had actually taken time to visit her. Her apartment, although old, held a certain charm with its creaking doors and occasional flickering lights. It wasn't necessarily a bad thing. It added character to the place. It had been a decade since my grandfather passed away, leaving behind a void that could never be filled. The last memory I had of him was when he kicked my relatives and me out of the house. Overwhelmed by emotions, I was only 14 at the time, unsure of how to react when my grandfather was yelling at my uncles, urging them to leave. Looking back, my biggest regret was not reaching out to him, not holding his hand and comforting him. For years, I had been distant from the apartment, avoiding the memories that it held. However, since my return, I couldn't ignore the heavy sadness that seemed to weigh upon me. It was an indescribable feeling, a constant burden on my heart. It was as if someone wanted to communicate with me, to convey a message that needed to be heard. One night, after a particularly stressful day with customers, I arrived home past midnight, exhausted and seeking solace. I found myself conversing with a friend on the phone. As I entered the room adorned with my grandfather's picture, a wave of sadness washed over me, intensifying the weight on my heart. This emotion wasn't entirely mine. It felt as though someone or something was trying to reach out and share their sorrow. Memories of my grandfather flooded my mind. The last time I saw him, the moment he kicked us out, and it was all too overwhelming. My friend, sensing my distress, suggested that I speak aloud about what I was experiencing, as if addressing my grandfather directly. Intrigued and somewhat apprehensive, I decided to give it a try. I poured out my thoughts, my regrets, as if I were having a heartfelt conversation with my grandfather. I expressed my deep sadness, particularly my regret for not holding his hand during that chaotic farewell. And then it happened. The lights in the room began to flicker uncontrollably, like a wild dance of illumination. It was an astonishing display, one that could have made anyone lose their composure. Startled, I attempted to rationalize the phenomenon, attributing it to faulty wiring or a mere coincidence. But my friend, undeterred, urged me to continue speaking to my grandfather, convinced that there was a connection to be explored here. Taking a deep breath, I resumed my conversation, pouring my heart out into the empty room. Sharing stories of my travels and life outside of Asia, time seemed to blur as I spoke, and a sense of comfort enveloped me. I concluded my monologue with the words filled with love, assuring my grandfather that he would forever hold a special place in my heart. Just as I finished speaking, the lights flickered back on with a renewed intensity, as if they were affirming the connection forged between my grandfather and me. It was an awe-inspiring sight, a testament to the inexplicable forces at play. And then, in an almost poetic manner, one of the lights blew out, shrouding the room in darkness. It was as if the lingering sadness had been replaced by a profound sense of peace. In that moment, I couldn't help but feel a profound love, a warmth, a homely embrace that transcended the physical realm. I was convinced that my grandfather's spirit lingered in that apartment, patiently awaiting the reunion with my grandmother. Perhaps he had been listening all along, waiting for someone to acknowledge his presence and offer solace and love. From that day forward, the weight of sadness that had burdened me lifted, replaced by a renewed sense of purpose. I embraced the apartment and its quirks, finding solace in the belief that my grandfather's spirit resided within its walls. And as I cared for my grandmother, I knew that I wasn't alone. My grandfather's loving presence surrounded us, providing strength and comfort during our difficult times. In the end, my journey back to Asia was not only an act of compassion, but also a catalyst for discovering the hidden depths of my family's unique abilities. The aura reading and connection with the spirits that my relatives and I possessed became more apparent as time goes on, intertwining our lives with the spiritual realm in ways that we couldn't have imagined. Now, as I reflect upon my experiences, I am grateful for the opportunity to reconnect with my roots, to rediscover the love and support that transcends even death. The apartment, once a place of sorrow and distance, has transformed into a sanctuary of love, where the presence of my grandfather serves as a constant reminder that family bonds are unbreakable, even in the face of adversity. So, as I continue to reside in the apartment, cherishing each day with my grandmother, knowing that my grandfather's spirit watches over us, and as we navigate life together, I'm comforted by the knowledge that love endures, bridging the gap between the living and the departed. Story number 6. Deceased House. Nothing has truly happened yet. I haven't been able to get inside the home. This afternoon, finally, I'll have the opportunity to set foot inside its hallowed halls. The anticipation has been building within me ever since my husband, in-laws, and I embarked on our venture into the bustling southern city that we call home. The real estate market is thriving, especially in the neighborhood town nestled closer to the majestic mountains. It's become a coveted destination for many, including us, driving the property prices to unprecedented heights. We as a family decided to try our hand at the lucrative business of flipping houses. Whenever we successfully sell a property, we immediately set our sights on the next one, searching for the perfect prospect to transform into a new gem. It was during one of our zealous quests that our mother-in-law stumbled upon a house in the coveted town, listed for auction. Eagerly, my husband informed me about his exciting find last Friday, proudly presenting the exterior of the house as a potential future abode for our family. The catch, of course, was that auction rules dictated that we couldn't view the interior before the bidding commenced. The moment my eyes landed on the house, an inexplicable wave of certainty washed over me. It was as if a vision of our future unfolded before me, depicting all of us residing in that very place, brimming with happiness and contentment. However, alongside that, a profound sense of melancholy engulfed me. The house seemed to emanate a silent sorrow, as if it held within its walls a tale of profound loss and solitude. Driven by an unwavering belief in fate, we mustered our determination and serendipitously ventured into the backyard, hoping to glean some insights into the previous owners. The meticulous landscaping, marked by mature trees and carefully tended flower beds, hinted at a touch of age. Perhaps a couple of people, in their 60s, maybe called this place home. A time in life that I considered to be midlife. Time ticked away, and the day of the auction arrived, bringing with it a mix of anxiety and excitement. Our bidding strategy paid off, and we emerged victorious as the new owners of the house. However, as we delved deeper into the history of this property, a somber truth was unearthed. It turned out that both husband and wife had passed away, leaving behind a poignant tale of love and loss. The wife had departed first, and the husband followed suit a year or two later, his final moments transpiring within the very walls of the house that we now called our own. Being from out of state, their demise went unnoticed by the community for an extended period, with only a vigilant neighbor finally uncovering their sad fate. Now, the weight of their entire existence rests upon my shoulders. Every possession they cherished, every memory they held dear, now lies within the confines of this house. The realization fills me with an overwhelming sadness as I contemplate the man's solitary passing. My heart aches at the thought of him departing this world without the comfort of loved ones by his side. The neighbors who had a glimpse into their lives spoke highly of the couple, describing them as exceptional individuals who had touched many lives. In my search for more information about the man, I stumbled upon his digital footprint, a testament to his benevolence. It seems that he dedicated his time to volunteering at a local soup kitchen, selflessly serving those in need. As I prepared myself to enter the house for the first time, armed with boxes and a heavy heart, I realized that I'm not merely inheriting a property, I'm inheriting the remnants of a life, an existence marked by love, generosity, and perhaps a touch of sorrow. The story of this house, woven with the threads of the previous owners' lives, now intertwines with ours, creating a tapestry of intertwined destinies. I can't help but feel the weight of their presence, a silent reminder of the transient nature of our own existence and the profound impact that we can have on others. With every step I take, traversing the threshold into the unknown, I carry within me a profound sense of responsibility. I vow to honor their memory, to breathe new life into these walls, and to create a haven where happiness can flourish once more. In this symphony of past and present, I embark on a journey of discovery, one that will unveil not only the secrets of this house, but also the depths of my own soul. Story number 7. Toddler continues to see something. Last night at around 8 o'clock, my husband and I found ourselves inside our 3-year-old's bedroom. Across the hall, our 1-year-old was sound asleep in his room. Our little son was engrossed in playing with this train table, and we were simply enjoying some quality family time together. Suddenly, he darted into the hallway, clutching a toy helicopter in his tiny hands, on a mission to rescue his other toys. He stood right outside the doorway, about to make his triumphant return to his room, when all of a sudden, he froze in his tracks and looked up as though he had seen an adult figure standing in the doorway. Perplexed, my husband inquired about his sudden pause. Our toddler replied with a sense of urgency, "A ghost." Startled, I interjected with a confused tone, "Huh?" He continued, "A ghost trapped me." Intrigued and concerned, I asked him, "Is it blocking the doorway?" To my surprise, he affirmed, "Yeah, it is, Mom." All the while remaining motionless, fixated on this unseen apparition. Though I couldn't sense anything or see any spectral presence myself, I understood that just because I couldn't perceive it didn't mean that my son couldn't. We decided to unite our voices and assert, "In the name of Jesus, leave our house." We reassured our little one that the ghost couldn't harm him and encouraged him never to allow it to hinder him from pursuing his desires. It infuriated me to think that this ethereal entity was attempting to prevent him from seeking our company. However, with some gentle encouragement and cheers from us, he mustered up the courage and ran back into his room, triumphant over the perceived obstacle. We continued playing for a while longer, but I couldn't help but notice that he kept pausing and glancing over in the direction where he had seen the ghostly figure. Despite this, he eventually went to bed without any further issues, seemingly unaffected by the supernatural encounter. As I reflect on this peculiar incident, I'm left pondering the mysteries of the unseen world. It amazes me how young children, with their pure hearts and vivid imaginations, can perceive things that elude the grasp of adults. Perhaps there's more to this realm than meets the eye, and our little one's encounter with the ghost serves as a reminder of the delicate balance between the tangible and the ethereal. Story number 8. Ask Reddit. I'm a long-haul trucker, traversing the vast highways and bypasses of this great land. The life of a truck driver is filled with adventure, solitude, and countless miles of open road. We are the unsung heroes of the modern world, delivering goods and keeping the wheels of commerce turning. There is, however, a secret that most people don't know about us truck drivers, a constant state of discomfort that plagues us on our journeys: diarrhea. Yep, you heard it right, diarrhea. It's a problem that we face day in and day out, a persistent companion on our travels. But let me tell you a tale about one fateful day, a day when luck was on my side. The summer's warmth embraced the world around me. It was during this season, as I drove through the bustling city of Buffalo, that an unexpected urge hit me like a bolt of lightning, brown lightning to be specific. My stomach churned and I knew I couldn't hold it any longer. Panic set in as I realized I didn't have any convenient place to relieve myself in town. So with grit and determination, I decided to push through and hold it until I could reach the nearest truck stop, a daunting 35 miles south of Buffalo. As I arrived at the truck stop, relief washed over me, but it was quickly replaced by an unsettling discovery. My trusty GPS, which faithfully guided me on my journeys thus far, turned out to be a bit outdated. The truck stop, supposedly bustling with life and amenities, stood abandoned before my eyes. My heart sank as I contemplated my predicament. Desperation gripped me tightly. Ignoring the locked door, I cast my gaze upon the desolate back lot of the truck stop. There, amidst the overgrown grass, two peculiar sights caught my attention: a broken-down school bus and a beaver statue standing proudly on 4-foot-tall plinth. Being a Floridian, raised in ingrained concerns about venturing into high grass due to the ever-looming threat of snake bites, I hesitated. However, my bodily needs overrode my apprehensions. I made my way toward the beaver statue, with its wooden form silently beckoning me. Leaning against the plinth for balance, I dropped my overalls and assumed a rather compromising position, determined not to soil my back flap. It was a moment of vulnerability, a dance with destiny, you could say. As I focused on my business, a rustling sound from the nearby bushes startled me. My eyes darted toward the commotion, only to witness a beaver slowly retreating backward, as if it had witnessed the ultimate desecration of its sacred domain. A wave of curiosity washed over me. Was the statue I was leaning on created by this industrious beaver? Had the place been abandoned due to a beaver takeover? Perhaps it was a memorial erected for fallen beaver soldiers. My mind filled with speculation, but the pressing matter at hand demanded my attention. I completed my mission of necessity, my shameful act fading into the annals of time. Little did I know that my journey had only taken an unexpected turn. In my haste to evacuate the confines of my temporary brown hotel, I realized to my dismay that I'd left behind my trusty paper towels and baby wipes in the confines of my truck. A moment of decision loomed before me. Should I embark on a waddle of shame, traversing the 200 yards back to my truck to retrieve the necessary supplies? Alas, such a venture would require me to subject my bare feet to the remnants of my unfortunate predicament. The thought of becoming a shit-ass was simply unbearable. Left with no other option, I mustered the courage to tear the sleeves off my shirt, converting them into makeshift wipes. As I meticulously cleaned myself, I couldn't help but reflect on the consequences of my beaver blasphemy. Did my lack of respect for the beaver statue lead me to this karmic punishment? It was a humbling experience, a lesson etched into my soul. With my makeshift wipes discarded and my modesty restored, I climbed back into the haven of my truck and continued my journey, forever changed by this extraordinary chain of events. And so, dear friend, you may wonder why truckers often adorn themselves with sleeveless shirts. It's a reminder, a daily testament to the unexpected twists and turns that life throws our way. It serves as a symbol of resilience, adaptability, and the ability to triumph over even the most challenging situations. The sleeveless shirt is our armor, our badge of honor, as we navigate the unpredictable roads that stretch before us. Story number 9. Did my grandmother kill her grandson? Bizarre occurrences have always been an integral part of the tapestry woven by the maternal side of my family. It is within the depths of this enigmatic lineage that I've come to witness the inexplicable intermingling of the supernatural and the mundane. One particular summer, when the sun was at its zenith and the world was cloaked in the embrace of warmth, I found myself spending a fortnight with my beloved grandmother, whose advancing age had begun to take its toll on her once sharp mind. It was during this time that the peculiar nature of our family's heritage unfurled before me in the most unsettling manner. In an act of benevolence, my cousin Robbie had beseeched my grandmother for permission to park his recreational vehicle in the vicinity of her humble abode. Being a widow for the past 4 years, she had developed an unwavering sense of fear that had firmly rooted itself within her heart, especially when the sun would descend beneath the horizon, leaving behind a cloak of darkness. Robbie's offer was driven by his desire to assuage her worries and provide a sense of security. However, my grandmother perceived this act as an invasion of her personal space, failing to recognize the goodwill behind his intentions. The ensuing tension served only to exacerbate the apprehension, thereby weaving a web of discord within our family's dynamic. To compound the situation further, a curious delusion took hold of my grandmother's fragile psyche. An insidious whisper entered her ear, convincing her that Robbie was surreptitiously siphoning off her precious electricity. In her mind's eye, she envisioned him connecting an extension cord from her property to the nearby pole, clandestinely stealing the energy that was fueling her existence. These unfounded accusations birthed a stream of murmured threats, which gradually transformed into a venomous word that she hurled at Robbie's mother, who also happened to be my aunt. The impact of these caustic tirades left behind a trail of wounded emotions, for my grandmother had never known for her gentle tongue. Yet the sinister saga continued its malevolent dance, with my grandmother's ire finally fixating solely on my unfortunate cousin. Her vengeful cries grew louder, punctuated by a chilling declaration that reverberated within the depths of my cousin's soul. "I'll get you, you little bastard." Alas, such words were not wholly unfamiliar in the context of our tumultuous family history, where the realm of reality and superstition had always flirted with each other, leaving us to question the boundaries of what lay beyond the veil of the scene. It wasn't long after these calamitous events transpired that my cousin's well-being began to falter. Though he possessed a robust constitution in his youthful years, numbering a mere 34, an unexplained malaise seized him by the heartstrings. Chest pains like sinister whispers from the abyss invaded his body, sending shockwaves of distress through his veins. Concerned for his welfare, he sought solace within the confines of a doctor's chamber, eager to uncover the elusive source of his ailment. Yet, much to everyone's bewilderment, the results of the thorough medical examination yielded naught but a clean bill of health. Ever the proponent of a healthy lifestyle, my cousin engaged in daily walks as a means to maintain his physical vigor, particularly during the enchanting season of hunting, when nature's magnificence unfolded before him. Having recently welcomed a beautiful baby boy into the world, he had become acutely aware of the fragility of life, thereby developing a deep reverence for the delicate balance between existence and mortality. Thus, it was amidst this backdrop of paradoxical circumstances that I found myself visiting my mother one fateful day, only to be greeted by the somber arrival of the county sheriff at her doorstep. A shroud of sorrow descended upon our hearts as the sheriff conveyed the unfathomable news. Robbie, our cherished cousin, had been discovered lifeless in the depths of his beloved hunting grounds, succumbing to a sudden heart attack at the tender age of 34. The cruel hand of fate had reached out and extinguished the flickering ember of his life, leaving us to grapple with the profound weight of grief and disbelief. However, the macabre tale didn't end there. In the aftermath of these tragic events, as we diligently sifted through the remnants of my grandmother's earthly existence, a startling discovery awaited us within the dimly lit recesses of her abode. Nestled amidst forgotten trinkets and faded photographs lay a voodoo doll, crafted with meticulous care, fashioned from Robbie's very own hair, and adorned with a significant Carhartt garment. A patch in the shape of a heart, embroidered with loving precision, adorned the overalls that encased the doll's delicate form, while a single pin ominously driven through its center hinted at malevolent intent. The weight of this revelation pressed heavily upon our souls, and a collective decision was made to shield my aunt, Robbie's grieving mother, from the tormenting knowledge of this sinister artifact. For what good would it serve to awaken dormant demons within her heart, to burden her already shattered spirit with this realization that the forces beyond her comprehension had conspired to weave a tale of tragedy and despair? And so, this woeful chapter within the annals of our family's history drew to a close, its unsettling mysteries forever etched in the depths of our memories. The bizarre tapestry of our lives, interwoven with the inexplicable events, had unfurled yet another enigmatic narrative, leaving us to contemplate the delicate dance between the realms of the seen and the unseen, the fragility of existence, and the enduring power of ancestral forces that forever shape our destinies. Story number 10. I think my woods are haunted, and I don't know what to do. I remember vividly the day I moved into my new house, a cozy abode that became my sanctuary for the past 2 years. Nestled on a vast expanse of land spanning 14.5 acres, the property boasted a decent size and offered a sense of tranquility. However, despite its inherent calm and charm, I couldn't deny the eerie aura that permeated the wooded area on the premises. It was as if an invisible force cast a shadow over that part of the property, leaving me with an overwhelming unease. Venturing into the park alone was something that I vehemently avoided. The mere thought of it sent shivers down my spine, evoking a deep-rooted fear within me. I realize this may sound childish, but trust me when I say there's a reason behind my trepidation. Within the depths of those woods stood a small, dilapidated structure, an abandoned cottage or shed of sorts, that held an inexplicable power over me. Every time I neared its vicinity, a wave of dizziness would wash over me, threatening to plunge me into unconsciousness. At first glance, the building appeared unremarkable, devoid of any peculiar features or signs of life. Yet its presence alone instilled a profound sense of faintness in me, acting as an ominous beacon within the dense foliage. Months passed, and my determination to confront my fear grew stronger. I resolved to venture into the woods alone, to face whatever haunted my psyche and reclaim a sense of tranquility within my own property. With hesitant steps, I followed the trail leading to the enigmatic structure, determined to remain composed and not succumb to the disorienting spells that awaited me. As I approached the building, my heart raced within my chest, each beat echoing the adrenaline coursing through my veins. And then, I saw her. A woman, ethereal and otherworldly, circled the building with an eerie grace. She hummed haunting lullabies, her ethereal voice resonating through the trees, and called out for someone or something unseen. The sight of her sent a chill down my spine, her presence both captivating and terrifying. Standing tall at a height between 5'10" and 6 foot, her dark hair cascaded down to her hips, a stark contrast against her unnaturally pale skin. Draped in a flowery white dress that sort of brushed against her ankles, she clutched a children's toy in her delicate hand. Summoning the courage within me, I called out a hesitant, "Hello," to the mysterious woman. Her gaze locked onto mine, yet she remained silent, her melodic humming persisting as she continued her haunting dance around the building. It was at that moment, perhaps fueled by curiosity or foolishness, that I made the fateful decision to step within the dreadful 5 to 10 foot radius. As if sensing my intrusion, the woman abruptly lunged towards me, her movements swift and ethereal. Panic seized my heart and I fled for my life, sprinting through the undergrowth as if pursued by a vengeful spirit. I could feel her presence hauntingly close behind me, her desperate pursuit echoing through the silence of the woods. But as soon as I emerged from the oppressive tree line, I dared to glance back, only to find her vanished into thin air, leaving no trace of her haunting figure behind. From that moment on, I discovered that the enigmatic woman was not a constant presence in the woods. Sometimes she would manifest, appearing amidst the whispers of the wind, clutching a different children's toy in her delicate grasp. Each time, however, these toys held a haunting familiarity, an uncanny resemblance to cherished playthings from my childhood, a collection of memories tethered to my past. Among them, I spotted a plush pig, a beloved companion since my earliest days, a fateful source of comfort in times of distress. Witnessing my treasured pig in her spectral possession sent shivers down my spine, evoking a chilling realization that this encounter was no mere coincidence. The implications of these sightings filled me with dread. What connection did this enigmatic woman have with the cherished toys of my youth? Was she a specter of my subconscious, manifesting to confront me with forgotten memories and fears? Or was there something more sinister at play, an ancient curse or a restless spirit trapped within the depths of the woods, longing to bridge the gap between our realms? The questions swirled within my mind, tormenting me with their elusive answers. As days turned into nights, I found myself torn between the desire to unravel the mysteries of the haunted woods and the fear that consumed me at the prospect of delving deeper into this ethereal realm. Though the woman's appearance remained sporadic, her ghostly presence forever etched into my consciousness, I knew that confronting the truth was inevitable. And so, the moon rose high in the midnight sky, casting an ethereal glow upon the land. I steeled myself for yet another encounter with the enigmatic woman and the secrets that lay shrouded within the haunted woods of my home. Armed with courage and curiosity, I vowed to unravel the enigma that bound me to this cursed property, to face the specter that haunted my every step. Little did I know the journey that awaited me, the labyrinth corridors of forgotten memories, the echoes of forgotten lullabies, and the spectral dance of a woman tethered to the past. It was a path that would test my resolve, challenge my perceptions, and force me to confront the demons lurking within the deepest recesses of my own soul. So with trepidation and a glimmer of hope, I ventured forth into the woods, ready to embrace the unknown and unravel the tangled web of my haunting existence. Story number 11. I've seen my fair share of UFOs, but I believe I was abducted once. Let me begin by explaining that my life has been significantly affected by my chronic illnesses, which manifest itself in the form of debilitating fatigue. Despite being relatively young, it's become quite common for me to retire to bed early, surrendering to the overwhelming weariness that plagues my body. However, there was a fateful day, etched deeply in the corridors of my memory, where the intensity of my exhaustion reached unprecedented heights. Around 6 p.m. On that evening, I sought refuge in the sanctuary of my bed, seeking solace in the pages of a captivating book or mindlessly traversing the vast realms of information on my trusty smartphone. Little did I know that this unremarkable evening would soon become shrouded in an enigma, as the hands of the clock continued their relentless march. It's at this point that my recollection becomes ominously hazy, almost as if a curtain had been drawn over my consciousness, obscuring the events that transpired during the intervening hours. It was not until the gentle embrace of dawn's early light gracing the sky, caressing my still sleeping form, that I regained consciousness once more, startled to find myself roused from the uninterrupted slumber at 3 a.m. The grogginess and overwhelming fatigue that greeted me were not entirely unfamiliar, as I attributed them to potential flare-ups of my chronic conditions, dismissing the peculiarity as the situation as being nothing more than a mere consequence of my fragile health. Yet, as the day unfurled its tapestry and I ventured forth to commence my daily rituals upon awakening once again at approximately 9 a.m., an unsuspecting twist of fate awaited me. While preparing to dress myself, I inadvertently cast my gaze downward, only to have a chill course through my veins, leaving me frozen in a state of disbelief. My eyes fixated upon a colossal bruise that sprawled across my inner thigh, its appearance resembling that of a giant hand with 3 discernible fingers and an opposing thumb. In the realm of reason, where skepticism reigned supreme, my initial inclination was to dismiss this peculiar mark as self-inflicted, an unintentional consequence of my proclivity to bruise easily. Yet the nature of this bruise, so distinctive and unfamiliar, defied the rational explanations I attempted to construct. Regret began to weave its tendrils through the fabric of my thoughts as I recalled the missed opportunity to preserve tangible evidence of this extraordinary occurrence. In retrospect, I chastised myself for not capturing a photograph of the bruise, for failing to document this mysterious testament to the unknown and share it with organizations such as the Mutual UFO Network, MUFON, an entity dedicated to investigating and documenting UFO sightings. You see, my fascination with extraterrestrial phenomenon has long been ingrained within my being, and I've encountered a few instances of inexplicable sightings in the past. However, this encounter, with its amalgamation of lost time and inexplicable physical evidence, has instilled a perpetual unease within me. While I've always harbored a profound curiosity and admiration for all things extraterrestrial, the visceral impact of this encounter has surpassed the realms of mere fascination, leaving an indelible imprint on the fabric of my existence. The thought of those elusive 8 hours of lost time and the indomitable bruise on my thigh may serve as irrefutable proof of an otherworldly abduction, and it reverberates through my mind incessantly. I grapple with the perplexing amalgamation of emotions that it elicits as well. It is not fear that clutches my heart when contemplating the prospect of extraterrestrial beings, but rather a disconcerting mix of awe, curiosity, and a lingering sense of vulnerability. As the hours turn into days and the days into months, this unexplained encounter continues to haunt me, inspiring introspection and a perpetual yearning for answers. The cosmos, vast and mysterious, beckons to my inquisitive soul, and I find solace in the pursuit of knowledge that maybe one day I'll illuminate this enigma surrounding that unforgettable night. Until then, I remain vigilant, my eyes scanning the heavens and my thoughts intertwined with the possibility that our universe, with all its wonders and inexplicable phenomenon, may extend far beyond the boundaries of our terrestrial existence. Story number 12, Knocking in the Middle of the Night. I can't even begin to describe the sheer bewilderment and utter disbelief that washed over me as I found myself amidst an inexplicable phenomenon, unlike anything I had ever experienced before. It was a night like any other, where the moon cast its ethereal glow upon the world, and a silence enveloped the household as everyone in my abode slumbered peacefully, their dreams weaving intricate tales into the realms of their unconscious minds. The solitude of the night should have provided solace, but little did I know that an otherworldly encounter awaited me, shattering the tranquility and leaving me questioning the very fabric of reality. As I lay in my bed, surrounded by darkness, the sound of an unexpected disturbance pierced through the stillness, reverberating through the corridors of my home. It was a noise that sent chills down my spine, a door being forcefully slammed shut, emanating a deep thud that echoed in my ears. My heart skipped a beat, pounding against my chest like a wild beast yearning for freedom. Panic surged within me as I frantically tried to make sense of the situation. No one else was awake at this hour, and even if they were, the force required to create such a sound seemed far beyond the capabilities of any human inhabitant of the house. My mind grappled with the possibilities, but rational explanations seemed to dissolve into thin air, leaving me suspended in a state of apprehension. As if in response to my bewildered thoughts, the door, which had been so violently disrupted, was subject to a strange and inexplicable force once more. It seemed as though an unseen presence was pressing up against it, exerting pressure with a suddenness that defied logic. The door rattled under the unseen weight, producing an unnerving symphony of creaks and groans. Yet, what followed this eerie occurrence was even more perplexing. 2 distinct knocks pierced through the air, gentle in nature but possessing an uncanny power to send shivers cascading down my spine. The hair on the back of my neck stood on end as the realization sank in. I was not alone in this inexplicable ordeal. The knocks, delicate yet deliberate, seemed to be a message of sorts, a subtle attempt to gain my attention. Fear and curiosity waged a battle within me, and I found myself torn between seeking answers and seeking refuge. Summoning whatever courage I could muster, I made a hasty decision to reach out of my lock, my trembling hands struggling to perform a task that should have been a second nature. With a resounding click, the door was secured, as if barricaded against the unknown force that lurked in the shadows. It was a feeble attempt at self-preservation, a futile act that sought to shield me from the inexplicable terrors that lie beyond. As moments turned into minutes, the quietude that followed was almost deafening. The air grew heavy with anticipation, as though time itself had been stretched thin, suspending me in this unnerving limbo. And then, as if the universe conspired to test the limits of my sanity, another knock reverberated through the silent expanse of my room, and this time it was a single delicate tap that resounded with a haunting elegance, as if a ghostly hand had gently brushed against the door. My mind raced, trying to comprehend the incomprehensible. I searched for any semblance of rationality, scouring the depths of my memory for instances of similar encounters, yet I found no solace in my quest for answers. For never had I witnessed or heard of such a surreal sequence of events. It was uncharted territory, a realm untouched by the bounds of human understanding. A surge of curiosity mingled with fear coursed through my veins, tempting me to embark on a journey of discovery, to delve deeper into this enigma that had permeated my existence. I pondered the existence of countless stories and experiences shared by others on the vast expanse of the internet, yet none mirrored the peculiarity of my own plight. It was as if the universe had conspired to test the limits of my belief, thrusting me into the surreal narrative that defied explanation. And so, here I am recounting the extraordinary tale, striving to capture every intricate detail and every flicker of emotion that unfolded in those fleeting moments of the unexplained. As the night stretches on, shrouded in mystery, I find myself grappling with the unknown, simultaneously captivated and terrified by the enigmatic force that toy with my reality. I can only wonder what awaits me beyond that door, what secrets lie hidden in the abyss of the night. Story number 13. Can spirits attach to humans? When I was a child, one thing our parents would often stress was that we shouldn't play at night. According to them, that's when spirits and other supernatural beings would come out. They warned us that by playing at night, we might be inviting ourselves to be seen or interact with these entities. My wise grandma used to say that we never truly know their intentions toward us, and that it's better not to take any chances. We were taught to respect their space, and in return, they would respect ours. But as curious children, we always wanted to push the boundaries and scare ourselves. I remember summoning up a little bit of courage and venturing out to play at night a few times, just to test the waters and see if the stories were true. And then came that one last time. I still remember it vividly. As I set foot on the playground, a wave of uneasiness washed over me. I felt nauseous in certain parts of the playground, as if something unseen was following me. I tried to shake off the feeling, but it only grew worse. Eventually, I couldn't bear it any longer, so I left and confided in my cousin, telling them that I believed that we should heed the warnings and not play at night anymore. Fast forward a week later, and things were already starting to happen. I began seeing fleeting shadows at the corners of my eyes, feeling the unmistakable sensation of being watched even when no one was around. Certain items would mysteriously go missing, only to reappear in unexpected places. I knew deep down that it was a consequence of my previous reckless actions. I had messed up big time, and the repercussions were unfolding now before me. In those moments, I recalled my grandma's words without knowing the true intentions of these supernatural beings. So I resisted the urge to overthink and panic. After all, the occurrences thus far seemed harmless. I didn't want to provoke whatever was responsible for them, but I also didn't want to hurt its feelings if it meant no harm. I know it sounds strange, but I couldn't shake off the feeling that there was more to this entity than met the eye. One night, my mom had some friends over for a hangout session. I had already retired to bed, sharing a room with my sister. Normally, she despised when I left the door open, but that night, she didn't seem to mind. Our house layout consisted of a living room that led to a hallway with our bedrooms. My mom's room was located at the end of the hallway, meaning that you had to pass by my room before reaching hers. The laughter and gossip from my mom's friends filled the air, making it difficult to fall asleep. As I lay there, my eyes fixated on the hallway, ready to succumb to slumber. Just as I was about to drift off, I heard faint footsteps approaching from the hallway. Assuming it was my mom, who probably needed to use the restroom, I paid little attention. However, when I glanced towards the hallway, I was taken aback. It wasn't my mom. Instead, it was a little girl wearing a vibrant red dress, adorned with white bows in her hair. She wasn't walking, she was skipping along the hallway, giggling with childlike innocence. Strangely, I didn't feel any fear or apprehension. I simply assumed that she was one of my mom's friend's children playing a game. I waited for the moment and then called out to her, jokingly warning her about the trouble she would get into for entering my mom's room without permission. Finally, I decided to investigate further, convinced that she was hiding somewhere. I entered my mom's room, scanning every corner, but there was no sign of the little girl. Perplexed, I ventured back into the living room, asking the group of friends who had brought the child into my mom's room. To my surprise, they looked at me as if I'd lost my mind and insisted that none of them had brought any children with them. That's when it hit me, a realization that sent shivers down my spine. The little girl had vanished into thin air. I was scared, no doubt, but at the same time I felt a strange sense of relief. It seemed that the girl meant me no harm, but her presence still made me nervous. From that moment on, I started seeing her throughout my childhood. She seemed to have a penchant for hiding things, as if playing an eternal game of hide-and-seek with me. She would startle me by running past me and disappearing into one of the rooms, always giggling mischievously, as if she found immense joy in our interactions. Despite the initial fright she evoked, I couldn't help but appreciate the innocence and purity emanating from her presence. As the years went by, these encounters became less frequent. I grew older and moved on with my life. However, I still firmly believed that this little girl simply wanted to be seen, to assure me that she meant no harm. Perhaps she was a lonely spirit seeking companionship, or just a playful entity longing for connection. Whatever her true nature was, she left an indelible mark on my childhood memories. It wasn't until I moved in with my boyfriend's mom a few years later that I finally shared this hidden chapter of my life with someone. Little did I know that my now mother-in-law was also sensitive to supernatural phenomenon, just like me. One day out of the blue, she approached me with a look of uncertainty, cautiously admitting that she had witnessed a little girl following me around the house on several occasions. She described how the girl would hide, yet desperately wanted me to acknowledge her presence. As she revealed this, I was rendered speechless. The fact that someone else had also seen her confirmed the validity of my experiences. Strangely enough, after that conversation, I stopped seeing the little girl. It was as if she understood that I had moved on, that I was no longer interested in playing our childhood game. To this day, I ponder the true nature of that little girl and the unspoken connection that we shared. Perhaps she was a guardian spirit, watching over me during my vulnerable years. Or maybe she was a figment of my imagination, brought to life by a child's curiosity and longing for adventure. Regardless of the truth, her presence left me with a profound sense of wonder and a belief that there is something much more to this world than what meets the eye. And though she's faded from my life, I will forever cherish the memories of our encounter and the innocent joy that she brought into my world.